Start right. I mentioned we crossed that since I went down and we. Yeah. Then we wait for the next one, right for the 750. We crossed both of them in towing. Yeah. Oh no, it's not though, it's about it, isn't it? You know, there's nothing we can do about it. I mean, it's a true diagram. You want to see what they've got at 2:30. They got us leaving at 25 past 2 with the high-speed test train at 2:30, I think. Is that fucking good diagram? Well, that'd be good. Yeah, brilliant, that's good. Oh, and that comes down, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, when you're ready. Right, good brother. You charge, man. Look after the shop while we're away. Bill, get a few pictures of this. It's very pretty.
Now passing the 75.5 mile post and Abertrudlin level crossing. Mile post. Newlands level crossing. 76.25. And a half mile post. Throughless Hall level crossing. .76 3/4. Throughless Hall number 2. Throughless Hall number 3. .77 and a half. Keyword number 2. Keyword number 3. .78 mile post. Key ward number 4. $78 and a quarter. Passing Machynlleth 17 signal, so in for the 30 mile an hour turnout onto the Derby Junction Pwllheli line. Number 16 points. 78 3/4 mile post. No, you're right. Yeah. There's no need to stop with 2 men anyway. You're getting the token. Okay. Damex. Now passing the stopboard, Derby Junction branch, and climbing to number 1 bridge over the River Dovey on a 15 mile an hour permanent speed restriction. Passing the 79 1/4 mile post and off number 1 bridge, leaving the 15 mile an hour PSR, accelerating towards the 55 mile per hour maximum line speed. Past the station limits board for Derby Junction branch. And the 79 1/2 mile post. First level crossing out of Derby Junction, Honest Occupation crossing, telephone equipped. The 79 3/4 mile post and Penmynesa number 1 accommodation crossing. The 80 mile post and Penmynesa number 2 accommodation. Put the seat across. 80 1/4 mile post and Gogarth number 1 accommodation crossing. $80.5 mile post. Gogarth number 2 accommodation crossing. Now approaching the seawall shelf, which will follow virtually to Pwllheli station. The 80 3/4 mile post. Now braking for the 35 mile per hour permanent speed restriction. Continual 35 PSR to the mouth of Abu Dhabi number 3 tunnel. .81 mile post. Now entering Abu Dhabi number 1 tunnel. .81.5 mile post and warning board for the 25 mile an hour temporary speed restriction through Abu Dhabi number 2 tunnel. .81 3/4 mile post. And pan tidal level crossing. Braking down for the 25 mile an hour temporary speed restriction, commencing at the 82 mile post. Now entering Abu Dhabi number 2 tunnel. Passing the termination board for the 25 mile an hour TSR and the 82 1/4 mile post. Accelerating to current line speed 35 mile per hour. .82 1/2 mile post. .82 3/4 mile post. .83 mile post. .83 1/4 mile post. Trebury footpath crossing. 83 and a half. .83 and 3/4 milepost, and now braking down for the 25 mile an hour permanent speed restriction in force through Abu Dhabi number 3 and 4 tunnels as far as Abu Dhabi station. Now entering Abu Dhabi number 3 tunnel. Leaving Abu Dhabi number 3 to the right, Pwllheli Golf. First station out of Dhabi Junction. Now about to enter Abu Dhabi number 4 tunnel. Now left Abu Dhabi number 4 tunnel and descending into Abu Dhabi station proper. Passing the 84 and 3/4 mile post. The former Abu Dhabi Harbour goods branch trails in from the left. And now about to pass over Penrose occupation crossing. And Abu Dhabi station footpath crossing. Now passing through Abu Dhabi station. Abu Dhabi Golf footpath crossing. .85 and 1/4 mile post. Trevelyan level crossing, 85 and 1/2 mile post. Unnamed footpath crossing. .85 and 3/4 mile post. .86 mile post. And cemetery accommodation crossing. Now brake in for a 45 mile per hour permanent speed restriction. Onto the 45 PSR. Dufferin level crossing. Dabydd level crossing. Passing off the 45 mile an hour PSR at the 86 3/4 mile post and passing over Rownia level crossing. .87 mile post. Machynlleth accommodation crossing. Askyrian crossing. .87 3/4 mile post. Distant marker board for tow-in loop. .88 mile post. Vinyl occupation and footpath crossing. 88 1/4 mile post. Entering tow-in station limits and passing the upsiding. Machynlleth Railway Wharf Station to the right and brake in for the 15 mile an hour restriction into the down loop over the hydrokinetic points. Former goods yard to the right, passing over towing station Barrow Crossing, entering the station proper, where we'll now wait to cross 2 up trains. Now departing, towing. Past the 88 3/4 mile post and the down stop board. Mile an hour, trailing through the hydrokinetic points. The warning board for Sandilands AOCL crossing. 20 over 25 permanent speed restriction. Passing the 89 mile post and the station limits board for towing. Passing over Sandilands AOCL. Passing the 89 1/4 mile post. Site of the now closed Morva crossing. Onto the sea defence at Tonvanai. Past the 89 1/2 mile post and 30 mile per hour permanent speed restriction. '89 3/4 mile post. Passing the 90 mile post. And now leaving the 30 mile an hour permanent speed restriction, accelerating to line speed 55 mile per hour. '90 1/4 mile post. Some silly arse trespassing. Past Lechfluid crossing. '90 3/4 mile post. '91 mile post. Tonvanai occupation crossing and Tonvanai station. '91 1/4 mile post. 91.5 milepost. .91 3/4 milepost and 50 mile an hour permanent speed restriction. .92 milepost. .92.25 milepost and off the 50 mile an hour PSR. .92.5 milepost. There'll now be a succession of accommodation crossings after passing the 92 3/4 milepost. Koch level crossing. Machynlleth number 1 level crossing. 93 milepost. Machynlleth number 2, site of Llangollen Station, closed October the 3rd, 93. The 93.5 milepost. Distant warning for Allen's AOCL. Roller footpath crossing. .94 milepost. Bronnant accommodation crossing. .54.25. Speedboard for Allen's Crossing. Gorsewin number 1 crossing. Gorsewin number 2. Allen's level crossing. AOCL. Site of the closed Athgoch level crossing. Himblas level crossing. Pentrabach level crossing and 20 mile an hour restriction through Llwyngoryl station. Tuddin accommodation crossing. Now passing through Llwyngoryl station. 95 1/4 milepost. Passing over Borthwen occupation crossing, an unnamed footpath crossing, and leaving the 20 mph restriction. Hendra Hall accommodation crossing. .95 1/2 milepost. Llywindi number 1 crossing. Goid Isa level crossing. Ted? Ted? The horn. Tell give Mag a blow as we're coming through. She's working up there. Yeah. She'll be there or not. No, she is. Machynlleth level crossing and the 96 1/4 milepost. Breaking down to the 15 mph permanent speed restriction over Briog Cliff. .96 3/4 milepost. Don't roll as well as a Sprinter, do they? Still maintaining the 15 mph for the PSR and about to pass under Briog Avalanche Shelter, built after the last fatal accident in 1933. Passing the 96 3/4 milepost. .97 milepost. 97.25 milepost, warning board for Fairborn AOCL and passing off the 15 mile per hour PSR. Ninety-seven and a half milepost. Ninety-seven and 3/4. Brake in for the 10-20 speedboard, Fairborn AOCL. 20 mile an hour over the crossing. Fairborn Railway to the left. Passing over Fairborn AOCL and through Fairborn Station. Accelerating back up to line speed, 55 miles per hour. Passing the 98 mile post. Over Brickyard level crossing and Unisvaig level crossing. 98.25 mile post and Bullswin number 1 accommodation crossing. Bullswin number 2. .98.5 mile post, Bullswin number 3. Braking down now for a 20 mile per hour permanent speed restriction through Machynlleth station, across Barmouth Bridge and through Barmouth Tunnel. Speed restrictions ends just before entering Barmouth station proper. 98.75 mile post onto the 20 mile per hour PSR. Scufflock accommodation crossing. Machynlleth station. Machynlleth station, footpath crossing. .99.25 mile post. 99.5 milepost. Nine and 3/4 milepost, passing over Barmouth Bridge and the Machynlleth estuary. Bridge famed for the filming of Arnold Ridley's The Ghost Train and a snack food for marine worms. Now passing the 100 mile post, that's 100 miles from Whitchurch, Salop. The distant marker board for Barmouth station and entering Barmouth. Passing over Hayncastle Bridge, Barmouth, 100.25 mile post. And curving into Cumberland Place, accommodation and footpath level crossing. Leaving the 20 mile an hour PSR. To the front, the warning for Barmouth barrier crossing and the points indicator for the hydrokinetic points. Green hand signal to pass over Barmouth crossing. Former signal box to the left. Passing over the crossing and into Barmouth station. What? Well, there's nothing to... No. Shouldn't have. Oh, the 927 Barmouth. Bloody, we should make...
15, nothing to 15. I'll let you see, Billy. Haven't been in one of these things for quite a while.
Now departing Barmouth. Brilliant. I'm watching all this. Passing Barmouth sidings on the right and the 103/4 mile post. Oh, smart one that was, man. We couldn't stop laughing, could we? Me bridge! Oh. Left Barmouth stop board. Leaving the loop, 50 mile an hour through the hydrokinetic points. Accelerating towards line speed, 55 mile per hour. Passing over Wayne's Crossing, recently converted from accommodation to footpath use. Private footpath crossing and the 101 post. Hendremanach crossing. .1.5 mile post, Bellingillwort crossing. Parcel Lane accommodation crossing, alternative name Tico. .103/4. Coasting down towards the 30 mile per hour permanent speed restriction at Llanabba Sea Defence, past the 102 mile post. Llanabba halt on the right and Llanabba crossing, formerly accommodation, now restricted to footpath use. 30 mile an hour past the sea defence wall.
What 066 over?
Llanabba station limits for.
Yeah, not Llanabba over. Coming off the 30 mile an hour PSR,
Daniel number 1, level crossing, and the 102 3/4 milepost. Daniel number 2, 103 milepost. Milepost. Habit number 1 crossing. Is the Barmouth. Habit number 2. Taliban station on the right. Southern Simla crossing. Secrid occupation, otherwise known as Malcolm's or Tigwin. Rowan level crossing, 104 3/4 milepost. And passing the speed board. Kai level crossing, 105 milepost, and Benavar AOCL. Coidabach or Coidabach footpath crossing, 105 1/4 milepost. Ventrabach number 2, 105 1/2. Ventrabach number 3, Dyffryn Didwy station, Llwyn-Godogan occupation crossing. Trebor accommodation crossing. And a Smangwin. 7¼ milepost. Rashley number 2 crossing on the 107½ milepost. 30 mile an hour speedboard. Plaza Bryn accommodation crossing. 107¾ Clanbedder Station and Talonbach crossing. Penarth number 1, 108 milepost. Penarth number 2. And 8¼ 30 mile an hour permanent speed restriction. .5 milepost and Pensarn level crossing. Pensarn station. Unnamed accommodation crossing. Leaving the 30 mile an hour permanent speed restriction. Argoid number 2. 109 milepost. Llandanog accommodation and footpath crossing and Llandanog halt. 109¼ milepost and now be braking down for the 15 mile an hour permanent speed restriction beneath Harley Cliff. Mile an hour PSR. 9 3/4. Leaving the 15 mile an hour PSR and passing over Harlech Cliff footpath crossing. Site of the 110 mile post. Approaching the joint warning board for Harlech Morva AOCL and the distant warning board for Harlech Token Exchange Point. 110 1/4 mile post. And 1.5 mile post. Unnamed level crossing. Golf number 1. Golf number 2. Unnamed footpath. Unnamed footpath. Harlech Morva ABCL crossing. Mile an hour into the down loop. Harlech Station footpath crossing. Harlech Station. Departing Harlech Station. Passing the loop points. Morva number 1 crossing. .111.5 mile post, loop clear board, Harlech. Morva number 2 crossing. Morva number 3 crossing. 111 3/4. Acroglade number 1. Acroglade number 2. Gilarwen. Milepost. Class on this number 1. 112.5. Milepost. .13 milepost, and the 20/35 speedboard for Tigwin ABCL. Tigwin halt and Tigwin ABCL crossing. 113 3/4. Milepost. Raymond Gavard. Sarna station. Salsarna station, occupation crossing. Shrouded in mist in front of us, the peaks of Boiler in the back, Boiler in Mawr, and Knecht, the Welsh Matterhorn. Not a lot of people know that. .115.5 milepost. 15 3/4 and Llandequin halt. Slowing for a 20 mile an hour PSR over Brewit Bridge and into Penryn Daydraith. Toll road to the right. Now passing onto Brewit Bridge itself and passing the 116 milepost. Off Brewit Bridge to the right, the toll house, still maintaining the 20 mile an hour PSR into Penryn Daydraith station. Keep you informed always. 116 1/4 mile post. To the right, the Cook's Explosive Works, part of ICI. Havertowern occupation crossing. (116.5 mile post). Coming off the 20 mile an hour PSR and passing through Penryn Daydraith station. Accelerating away from the slack. Penryn Daydraith occupation crossing, also known as Jocks. The 116 3/4 mile post. Climbing now towards Machynlleth, rolling gradient 1 in 50, the steepest on the mainline Cambrian. 117 mile post. Unnamed footpath crossing. That's the 117 1/4 mile post and the 20 mile an hour permanent speed restriction enforced to Machynlleth station. Past the site of Abergavran accommodation crossing, wide through and closed. into Minford Station interchange with the Festiniog Railway. Off the 20 mile an hour PSR, accelerating towards 55 mile an hour line of speed. .18 milepost. Machynlleth Quarry level crossing. Glaslyn River Bridge. Warning board for Trithmare AOCL. Speed board 35 over 55 for Trithmare. Distant marker board for Porthmadog token exchange point. £119.25 mile post. £119.5 mile post and Trithmare AOCL. Croeso footpath crossing, Gellert's Farm accommodation. £119.75 mile post, Welsh Highland narrow gauge railway station to the right. Gorseddau footpath crossing. Into the Daen Loop, Harlech token exchange point. Stopping for the driver to operate the manned lifting barrier. Only take me about 35 years. I just worked out what that is there. It's British Transport Commission, isn't it, on the control of BTC. All them years I looked at that and never realised what the bleeding hell it was. Passing over Porthmadog man barrier level crossing. and into Portmaddock station.
106600. Here at Portmaddock, see if you can better.
Leaving Portmaddock Loop. Accelerating to line speed. Portmaddock downsiding to the left, passing the 120 and a quarter mile post. Clearing Portmaddock station limits. Unnamed footpath crossing. 120 and a half mile post. Climbing Wern Bank. Mile post. Wern accommodation crossing disused. $121 and a quarter. $121 and a half mile post. Braking for the 20 mile an hour PSR at Wern. $121 and 3/4 mile post. Moving off the 20 mile an hour PSR. Past the site of Top of Wern level crossing, disused and fenced through. 122 mile post. $122 and a quarter mile post. 2.5, and Machynlleth, number 1, accommodation crossing. Side of Machynlleth, number 2. £123 milepost. £123.25 milepost. Porth here, accommodation crossing. Black Rock footpath crossing and the site of Black Rock Halt. 123.5 milepost. One, 2, 3.75 milepost. Distant marker board for Machynlleth level crossing. A manned gated crossing, the only such crossing on the coastline between Derby Junction and Pwllheli. It looks soft, doesn't it? Yeah, 124 milepost. Unnamed footpath crossing. Warning board for Cricketh Mice, ABCL crossing. £124.25 milepost. Machynlleth down home signal. Machynlleth level crossing. £124.5 milepost. 20 over 35 speedboard for Cricketh Mice, ABCL. Passing over Cricketh Mice, ABCL. Is that Alan? Yeah. 124.75 milepost. Cricketh Station footpath crossing and Cricketh Station. £125 milepost. £125.25. £125.5. And this game back, number 1. £125.75. £126 milepost. 126 1/4. Abercyn number 1, 126.5 milepost. Abercyn number 2. Pwllheli footpath crossing. Llanllyn, accommodation crossing. To the left, Abernwen Sea Defence. Abernwen number 1 crossing. (128) milepost. Abernwen number 2. Site of Abernwen Station, junction for the Carnarvon and Bangor line, erstwhile. 128 1/4 milepost. Abernwen number 3 crossing. .30 mph permanent speed restriction. .128 3/4. Distant marker board for Pennachine. 128 3/4 milepost, leaving the 30 mph PSR. .129 milepost. .129 1/4. Pennachine Station. Gwyn accommodation. Glanmorva. Broom Hall. One 30.25 mile post on the site of Tanglochwin level crossing. Tanrath level crossing. 130.5. Glanmorva number 1. Glanmorva number 2. Glanmorva number 3. Breaking down to the 20 mile an hour PSR over Aberech AOCL. Aberech Holtz. Aberech AOCL. Now passing the 131 mile post. And 31.25 mile post and Morva level crossing.
Not bad. More training. This is where you learn driving for anybody, isn't it? I'll have another week on. Another week.
Glanavon footpath crossing. Warning board for Pwllheli goods AOCL. Unnamed footpath crossing. .132 mile post. (25/35) speedboard for Pwllheli goods AOCL and unnamed accommodation level crossing. To the left, the site of Pwllheli goods yard and locomotive sheds. Pwllheli goods AOCL to the right, Pwllheli head shunt and Runrain loop. Grain frame to the left. Trailing point for Pwllheli Runrain loop. Downsiding head shunt and Pwllheli west frame. Facing connection into Pwllheli downsiding. Now entering the platform of Pwllheli station.